We do get a lot who come to us and just say, I want this done. And they say, I was expecting it for free. Obviously, most of the time, it's not worth doing.
Did you start this business in 2017 with the thought of becoming a multi-million pound company? You've worked with Jake Paul, DMO, even people like Mrs. Hinch, and most recently, Justin Bieber.
With Jake Paul, that was a case of him Instagram messaging us on a random Friday night. I remember being out with the wife and a couple of friends. Just bought a new house. Can you fly out to Puerto Rico and get it done?
In this day and age, everybody thinks that every influencer just gets everything for free. Do you get like a pinch me moment?
That was one of those where it was like, do we even believe it? When we actually got there and he opened the door and we were thinking, bloody hell, it's like, this is actually real now.
Harry, there aren't many businesses out there that I look at and go, I would love or loved to invest in that business. But when I look at Garagestyle, genuinely, that's what comes to mind straight away. And your Instagram bio reads Celebrity Garage Customizer. You've worked with Jake Paul, DMO, even people like Mrs. Hinch, and most recently, Justin Bieber. However, Harry, in your own words, who are you and what do you do?
So my name's Harry. The company's called Garagestyle. We've been going for 7 years now. Started just with garage flooring products, but now moved into garage doors, hexagon lighting and other accessories. So yeah, a whole range of garage products, and we supply and fit nationwide. So got a team on the road driving up and down the country, transforming garages, to put it in a nutshell.
And what I love when I do podcasts with different guests is if I've managed to follow somebody for years, right from the start of their journey, it just makes the whole podcast like 10 times easier because you can just reflect on moments that you've seen in their journey. And that's what I was looking forward to coming into this conversation today, because I actually followed you way before I did the podcast or anything that I did. I was actually in paving slabs, so supplying a product to cover a flooring area with square meterage. And I remember seeing you pop up back in 2017, I believe it was. And genuinely, my first thought was, that won't work. I was like, looks like low quality, bits of plastic. We're supplying porcelain. Yeah. It's 90 quid a metre. But God, how I was wrong. And your brand has gone on to build over 1 million followers across its social media platforms. We've mentioned the people that you've worked with. But that's not an easy journey. So how on earth, when you got going, did you manage to work with the likes of some of these influencers?
So I was working in Mercedes originally before I started the brand. So I had a lot of contacts in the motor trade, which is why I wanted to do something motor trade related. But yeah, as soon as we got going, we were hitting socials hard. So just Instagram posts, it was quite a visual thing. So obviously works quite well on socials. So just before and after pictures, just turning dusty garages into all bright colours, and got a bit of traction, started getting a few jobs on there. So just really pushed the socials and almost addicted to it. And we still are now. It's like posting all the time, every day, no days off. So yeah, really we're just pushing that. And then the first collaboration we did was with Yanni from Yanimize. So he actually put out on all his socials that he's looking to have his unit floor done. And I didn't even know who Yanni was at the time, to be fair, but somebody reached out to us and was like, oh, you need to speak to these guys. They want their floor done. So I just pinged them a message. They said, come down and have a look, see what you can do. And yeah, met Yanni. He was good as gold straight away. He was like, look, I don't want any freebies. Just look after us with a good product and good service and we'll help push you. So he really got behind the brand, did that. And as soon as we arrived there, he did a story of the vans pulling up. And I remember where I was just one-man band with some subcontractors helping. The phone started ringing. Obviously, I'm trying to answer it while we're fitting the floor. The followers started coming in. I remember just going upstairs to Yanni, like, bloody hell, what have you done? Can you wait till later? We got to get this floor done. So then after that, we really saw the power of influencer marketing. And that organically led to DMO DJ. Obviously, they're good friends. So he popped up straight away. And it just sort of snowballed from there. I think a lot of people got behind the brand and got on well with us, and we built the team. And yeah, like once we did DMO, the rapper Mist popped up, their friends, and it just sort of snowballed. Every time we did one, it led to more. And we've probably now done hundreds of different celebrities and influencers, like you say, across a whole range of different markets, which is always cool. So keep it different.
You mentioned something there that I think people might have been a little bit surprised at, as was I, which is in this day and age, everybody thinks that every influencer and everybody just gets everything for free. But a lot of these guys genuinely do believe in the product and the brand then and are paying. I'm not saying all of them, but
Yeah, 100%. So we do get a lot, obviously, who come to us and just say, I want this done, and we give them a price and they say, I was expecting it for free. And obviously most of the time it's not worth doing something like that. We'll always look after people if they can help promote the brands. But yeah, we're lucky that we're in a position where a lot of celebrities and influencers come to us. They've seen us working with other people, and they will still get behind the brand and promote us afterwards. So we are lucky to be in that position. But of course, we do often do discounts and preferable rates for the people that want to help promote. And it goes both ways, really. I suppose some people come to us, they'd rather just pay the money, but at the same time, sometimes the promotion's worth more than the money they're going to pay us. So sometimes there's a way of us doing a bit of a deal and saying that we'll do it for this price if you can do X, Y, and Z for us. But yeah, it used to work a lot better than it does nowadays, as I'm sure you know. The social stuff has definitely, like the influencer stuff's definitely died down a little bit. The sort of reaction we used to get when people used to shout us out. But yeah, we got, like you say, a platform that we've built now, so we do get them coming through the door.
Hi there, it's me, Ben. My agency Tweak would love to consider working with you. We look forward to hearing from you.
So back then, 2017, you mentioned you were a one-man band out installing that floor in Yanni's unit. Do you want to just fast forward us and give us a picture, like a snapshot of where the business is at now?
Yeah, so today we've got 11 full-time staff. We've got a separate business that does more home flooring, so laminate flooring, LVT and carpets. So we've got another team of fitters that focus on that we also use within both companies. But Garagestyle, 11 full-time staff, looking at 2 million turnover this year and growing into some other markets, which I'm sure we'll touch on. But we've got a franchise in Germany, which is going really well. And we're looking to launch in a couple of other countries, which I'm sure we'll touch on this year.
Amazing. And that all come from a one-man band there. So how fast from that shout out from Yanni did growth then come about, or was it not like?
So not sort of too rapidly, but the first employee was my brother, who was working with me at Mercedes when I left. So while I was working there, I sort of built the business up on the side to doing a couple of jobs a week until I took the jump and went full time. And then, yeah, once we started with the collaborations, probably 6 months down the line, my brother joined as a second employee. And yeah, from there, it snowballed pretty quickly, really. Gave me a bit of time to focus on the business rather than just running around fitting floors the whole time. And yeah, I think that made a big difference. But yeah, the social stuff, as soon as we sort of hit the ground running with that, then that made a big difference.
And what about lockdown? Lockdown's bang in the middle of this journey, but you weren't able to go out and fit floorings for sale, or were you still selling product? What did lockdown do to you as a business?
To be fair, lockdown was probably one of the best things that happened to the business. When it first happened, we postponed, I think it was 3 weeks worth of jobs. So we called everyone, postponed the jobs, were sat at home. The phones were just ringing crazy because I think everyone was off work and decided to do some DIY, including myself. My garage had been done half-heartedly where we were so busy, but where I had a few weeks off, I cleared it all out, painted it, boarded the walls, put lighting up, flooring, cabinets, the lot. So I think all our customers had the same idea of, all right, I'm at home, let's clear the garage out. So yeah, the phones were going mad, and then it's changed slightly and construction was allowed to carry on working. And we were in a good position where our factories, obviously our main factory is based in the UK, so they were still working, one employee down there working by himself 24 hours churning tiles out, and nearly all of our competitors use Chinese imported products. So at the time they were sort of having struggled with deliveries and everything was delayed.
So you don't import any of your floorings from China?
We do now. Within the last 3 or 4 years, we've started importing a selection of tiles from China as well. But our main core product is made in a factory half hour down the road from our offices. So yeah, at the time we had a big advantage that we had no problem with supply, and everyone just decided the gyms were shut, let's make the garage into a gym. And that was probably the main thing that kept us going through lockdown, was the home gyms.
And did you start this business in 2017 with the thought of actually it becoming a multi-employee, multi-million pound company? Or did you start this business almost as like a sole trader going out to fix garage floors? What was the plan?
Yeah, so I mean, I've always had big aspirations, but I never thought it would get to the stage it's at today. And I think starting off I had the mindset of, if I can do a few jobs a week, I can earn all right money. And I was running an eBay business as well. So I had 1,400 different products on eBay at the time. So I was sort of like, sort of carry on with the eBay business, fill some gaps with garage floors. And I remember thinking within the first year, trying to get to the VAT threshold. just because a lot of the products we were buying had VAT on them. So I was like thinking, right, we have to get to that threshold. We'll have to start charging the VAT. Remember thinking that, and then fast forward to now, there's days where we've done bigger orders than the VAT threshold in one day. So it is one of those things where we don't really look back on it, and we're pretty bad in that sense, where as soon as we've done something massive, we're like, what's next, rather than sitting back and thinking, bloody hell,
because I suppose the jobs that everybody loves on social media is when you've gone to Puerto Rico to do Jake Paul's garage, and it's like, was that black with blue from memory?
So that was black with white. DMO's was the blue, but yeah, so Jake Paul's
black
all
flooring,
black,
white all the way round,
and all the lighting in there as well.
All the lighting, the way the house was, that is so like grammable, so social mediable. It looks amazing, but I'm guessing the actual jobs that pay is you guys fit out entire sort of service centres and bays with flooring as well, though, right?
Yeah, so we do the whole scale of it. So everything from like a garden shed, in someone's back garden or the back of a van, all the way up to, we've done some massive commercial jobs with Mercedes this year, Aston Martin, as well as some just huge industrial factories and warehouses. And like you say, the stuff that doesn't look as good for the Instagram or the socials, but it's just massive areas, health and safety stuff. So yeah, we do the whole scale of it, really.
And why, other than the social media, which has obviously been a huge part of this business, something that strikes me about you, sometimes I've got in the van with the likes of some of the characters that you've mentioned, to be fair, that you've supplied floors from, and they are shouting into the microphone so loud that the audio is peaking off the scale, and they are just pure carnage and all over the place. And to be honest, after doing so many podcasts, I'd say that's almost what the typical entrepreneur looks like to me these days, just almost chaos, if you know what I mean. And the people around them obviously manage them, but you come with a much more calm approach, and I'd say potentially more introverted, where we see a lot more of Adam on camera on social media. Have you always been inclined to start your own business, be out there? And have you always been that way inside you? Or
No, so, I mean, I've always been inclined to have my own business, and I always knew I wanted to work for myself and build something up. But I do naturally hate the cameras, hate doing all this kind of thing. And I do a lot of it nowadays, but from the start, I remember even doing like Yanni's floor or DMO's floor. I think there was a time where DMO was filming live and just spun the camera around on me and said, tell us a bit about the company. I remember just thinking, shit, what am I going to say? But yeah, it doesn't come naturally at all. It's one of those things where, because we grew most of our social following without me being on the camera at all. So never doing any YouTube stuff, never talking to the camera, more just showing the process of fitting the floor. But nowadays we do try and include us, as you say. Adam's in a lot of the videos, where he's out and about in the van. He gets a lot of the content, so a lot of people recognise Adam from that. But yeah, for me, it doesn't come naturally at all.
And over the period of time that you've been trading for, what has the growth looked like? You said obviously you did that job and it went mad and more calls came in, but now a couple of million a year, is it really starting to motor now? 'Cause you're just everywhere. I go to Goodwood Festival of Speed. Oh yeah, there's the boys. Like we go to Vegas for SEMA. Oh yeah, there's the boys. Like you just seem to have a mindset that you're just everywhere.
Yeah, we do try. A lot of the shows have always been something we've done from the start, because my dad's got a company doing crafting products. So when I was working, I was always doing the odd weekend here and there doing shows for him. So as soon as I started, it sort of made sense. And I remember our first few jobs came from going just to local car shows and showing the product. So we've always been into doing the shows. A lot of the boys are into their cars, so they enjoy doing it. So yeah, we do try and get to as many as we can. And obviously, like I say, it helps with branding. We do get that response a lot, that we're everywhere. We just try and cover as many bases as we can when it comes to shows and socials.
And did you love automotive as a kid, as a teenager, growing up? Is that what you were into? And if so, like why? What did at home look like? What was the bit that sort of moulded you into starting your own business and going down this route?
Yeah, so it's not been massively automotive. I've always been into like motocross, quad bikes, that side of it. And from school, I did an apprenticeship with Mercedes.
You must have broke a couple of bones at some point, man.
No, I haven't, to be fair.
He's Mr. Sensible. I'm telling you, he's Mr. Sensible.
Touch wood. But yeah, no, so I did an apprenticeship with Mercedes and obviously built up a lot of motor trade connections there. So it sort of made sense when I was looking and thinking, right, I want to start my own company now, and build a brand rather than just all the stuff I was selling on eBay. I sort of thought it makes sense to stay within the automotive world and use those contacts I'd built. So that was sort of what led me down the automotive route. But I knew I always wanted to start my own company. A lot of my family are quite entrepreneurial. I've got a granddad who invented a lot of big products. So I think that's always been around me, and I've always thought, right, I want to one day own my own company. It was just sort of finding the right opportunity and the right ideas.
It's amazing what kind of is embedded in us if we're lucky enough, and if you're lucky enough to come from that background. I've spoken to people that have come from all kinds of backgrounds on here. I actually recognised when I was driving here that we're just round the corner from where Jamie Officially Gassed is based, not too far down the road. And I remember thinking with his podcast, Jamie had no background or upbringing like that. And he's just almost fallen into this world where he's got to run his own business and channel now and everything. But some of us were lucky enough that it's kind of embedded in us from that young age. It's really interesting to find out what goes into making somebody who they are today. But is there been like a moment in the last few years that has like tested you and trialed you a little bit with doing all of this, where you ever felt like you're out of the depth with this growth?
I wouldn't have said so. We've got a really good team that we've built up. Obviously there's days when we have problems and stuff goes wrong, and luckily, like I say, because a lot of our tiles are made down the road here, we can't anything can't go too crazily wrong. We get we had one a few months ago where we had the wrong colour tiles, but it's a case of getting someone to go back to the factory, swapping it over and going and resolving the problem. So luckily we haven't had anything too crazy that's caused us too many big problems, but there's always the day-to-day stresses and problems here and there to resolve.
Would you just turn the aircon off for me, please? I'm freezing my nuts off. Thank you very much. Fantastic, Louis.
It's good aircon, though.
It is good aircon. It's almost too good. That's the problem. It gets literally freezing cold in here. You have that water, the ice crystals in it. I tell you.
Literally.
But you've got to have the aircon on because then the camera batteries overheat. If the camera batteries overheat, then you got it's chaos.
Yeah.
But it's not just garage flooring. You're doing the lighting, hexagon lighting that everybody's seen plus over Instagram. I wish I'd done it in my garage. In fact, I will be doing my garage, mark my words.
Soon.
So you've developed into all these other products and areas. Is that when you've also seen a massive increase in your socials just because of the way you can make stuff look?
I think so, yeah, because like I say before, it's a very visual product, so the before and after is always good. But it got to a stage where it was quite similar, just doing the floors the whole time. And we do always get comments from people saying, I can't believe they've done the floor, like the state of the garage. So we just sort of added extra products in to do more of a full package. Also, when Adam joined us, he came from the window and door industry. So he had experience fitting doors. So it sort of made sense to add doors to what we're doing. And a lot of customers were postponing jobs because they were waiting on garage door companies and the doors were all coming in from abroad. So it sort of just made sense for us to do as much as we can and do the whole package.
That's the thing I used to come up against when selling porcelain paving slabs is, can you install? And you guys do install. So you've got a team that go out and fit them. Have you had any stuff with customers? Like we all come up against challenges at work and jobs, but to install your product, you have to have a clear garage floor. Now, I'm imagining there's been many times where you've turned up and not had clear garage floors. Is that something that you come up again?
Yeah, to be fair, it doesn't happen too often, luckily, because I think most people, if the garage is too full of crap, they don't want the floor done anyway because they don't care about it. But we have had a few. I remember one in the early days, I turned up to fit the floor. It was pissing it down with rain. I was going on holiday the next morning, so it should have been a nice, easy, just smash the job out and get back. And I opened the door and I couldn't even step into the garage. It was just full of desks and chairs and furniture all over the place. So it was a case of having to like move everything back a touch, lay like one line of tiles, move it forwards, like crawling underneath the desks. And that was a bit of a nightmare. And I think Adam had a bad one where the guy owned a sweet shop and he opened the door and it was just full of sweets and chocolate and crisps everywhere.
Sounds horrendous.
Yeah.
I've been in my element.
They probably got through some of it, but luckily it doesn't happen too often, but we have had some where it's a bit of a nightmare, and that really slows us down because, as you've probably seen, a lot of the installs are nice and quick. It's quite a quick product to fit. We've got all the guillotines and stuff to cut them. But yeah, if you get to one of those with a lot of stuff to move, it does slow you down, especially if it's raining and you can't get the stuff outside.
So how does someone, well, there's all these people across the UK that have different businesses, one-man bands, 2 or 3-man bands. But what I'm getting at is because I think the people that we're about to talk about are the people that potentially would have the garages and be the nightmares to deal with, the influencers. So how does someone with a business based in the UK contact one of the biggest YouTubers in the world and end up doing their garage floor? Well, there must be businesses out there that have seen you do that sit back and go, how on earth have they done that? How have they managed to do that? So how do you do it?
Yeah, so a lot of it, some people comes down to strategy of us finding people. Obviously, where we've done a lot of celebrities in the past, there's normally someone that can connect the dots. So if we think of someone and think it would be good to work with them, we can normally get away through the door. But with Jake Paul, for example, who, like you say, is one of the biggest influencers in the world, that was a case of him Instagram messaging us on a random Friday night. I remember being out with the wife and a couple of friends and just got a message, came up on my phone, Jake Paul, and it just said, guys, it's time. I've just bought... we did have some interactions with him in the past where he was talking about us doing a different place, and that sort of fizzled out, and he was fighting someone, and they said after the fight, and it sort of never came to anything. And then, about 2 months before we were out there last year, just got a random message on a Friday night saying, guys, it's time. I've just bought a new house. Can you fly out to Puerto Rico and get it done? And I think we had everything booked within a couple of days and had the team.
Can we just put some perspective on this, though? Because you talk it so calmly and yet you're so collected with it, and it's so cool. But you started a business laying garage tiles in garages and garage flooring, and you're flying to Puerto Rico to fit a floor for one of the biggest influencers. Like, oh, just fly out to there and go and do it. Does that? Yeah, do you get like a pinch me moment?
Yeah, that was one of those where like it was like, do we even believe it? You know, it's like we were thinking, even when we landed in Puerto Rico, it's like he just sent us his address. There was not even any mention of like who's coming with you. I need the names or anything like that. It was just like, this is my address. This is the date. I half thought we're going to do it or knock on the door and he's not going to be there. He's going to be out of the country because obviously he's a busy man. But when we actually got there and he opened the door and was good as gold and had a laugh with us, we were thinking, bloody hell, it's like, this is actually real now. We're here to do the floor. So it is, we do get a few of those, like you say, pinch me moments. But it was a lot more surprising in the first place when the first few celebrities started popping up. I think now we're lucky enough that it happens quite often, not so much on that scale. But yeah, we do work with a lot of different celebrities and footballers. And
one that I'm going to bring up the name of because I think it's absolute genius, because sometimes we do get stuck in a rut. When we love cars, we love automotive. So naturally, you end up going towards those kind of people that are in that kind of market. But sometimes it's like the best podcasts I do are sometimes people that sit just outside that realm. I did one with Colin the other day. It was fantastic. Like, and he sit almost just outside that realm, but you can kind of connect the dots. You actually did a job with Mrs. Hinch, and I think it's one of the cleverest marketing things that I've ever seen partnering with her for Garagestyle.
Yeah, 100%. And that's probably the best influencer we've ever worked with. Obviously, we've worked with people who are a lot bigger than her, but engagement-wise and reaction-wise, when she does do a post or a story, it's just unreal how much the phone rings, how many emails come through. I would definitely say no one could compete with her engagement in that sense. And that was another random one where my wife's a big fan of her, so she was following all the content. And I think she put out there that she wanted to tidy the garage up. And we were on her case for ages, not getting anywhere. And suddenly she just replied and said, can someone come out and have a look? And now I'm really good friends with her husband. So we go karting with him most months. But yeah, her engagement on her page is like, if she just does one little story every now and again, she'll be cleaning the garage and she'll just tag us and say, like, even a little tag in the background, Garagestyle, and the phones just go mad and we're like, what's going on? And then we'll look and you'll see Mrs. Hinch mentions you in the story.
Because she's almost like Pinterest for social media, isn't she? Like, people are following it to see what there is there so that they can then implement into their own home. So I can see why that would work brilliantly. But you now need to almost find the next wave of people, which you've been doing abroad, because I'm right in saying you've already decided to franchise the business. You've got one in Germany, right?
Yeah, we've got a German franchise which has been going for a couple of years now.
And that's flying.
Yeah, that's doing well. So we were out at the SM Motor Show end of last year with those guys, and they're doing really well. They were already a customer of ours before they became a franchise, so they already sort of hit the ground running. But yeah, that's going really well, and it's cool to see them building up the name out there.
Did you ever think you'd franchise the business?
We didn't really, to be fair. No, that sort of came randomly. Obviously, they wanted to sell tiles out there, so they were already buying them and installing them, but they wanted to lean on our branding and use a lot of our content and stuff like that. So that sort of naturally happened. It was already a relationship there. But yeah, seeing the success of that, it now moves us in the direction of which country's next and looking at opportunities.
It's a mad world, franchising, because it's something that I think none of us are ever really taught, because a lot of people, they either go from being self-employed to then taking on one or two people, which is like a natural thing that happens, and then suddenly a business grows out of it, which is something that happens quite a lot. But like with franchising, you don't really see a lot of it. A lot of people don't necessarily have an eye into it, because they go to a McDonald's, they don't think, oh, this is a franchise. They think, oh, it's a McDonald's. And like, people don't necessarily, I think, even have that level of understanding too much about how they work. Even a lot of the time, entrepreneurs, and the reason I say it is we're just going through the same process at my chicken wing business, Gert Wings, we're just about to launch a franchise offer going into next year, which is an exclusive, to be fair.
Within the UK, or
it'll be a UK-based franchise to begin with, but I'm learning all new stuff,
a whole
like
minefield,
stuff that I had absolutely no idea about. The amount of solicitor paperwork involved
the
in it for a
documentation
start
is crazy.
is potty. Like, I genuinely can't believe it. So was that quite surprising for you guys? Because now you're looking to franchise in other places, right?
Yeah, so the franchise agreement and all that paperwork and solicitor stuff was, like I say, a minefield, trying to work that all out. There's a lot of companies out there who would charge you to do that, but obviously that's a minefield as well, for just finding someone that isn't going to take the piss and charge.
It literally is tens and tens and tens of thousands, if not more for some people with that. So did you have to go down that route?
Yeah, so we, like I said, we were lucky to be in a position where we already had a relationship with the guys in Germany, so it wasn't as in-depth as it would need to be with a random company or random person taking it on board. So we didn't have to do anything too in-depth, but it was still a minefield of a process, getting all the shareholders agree that the franchise agreement in place and protecting the brand and everything copyrighted and all of that. So,
but what gets you excited about running the business? Like, when do you come home like punching Maddox? Is it moments like that where you feel like you're going to the next step? Moments like Jake Paul's garage?
Yeah, I think so. I think any of the big collaborations, anything new that we're doing. So the franchising, definitely America is going to be a massive one for us. I know we probably get 10 inquiries from America each day without trying at the moment, which is pretty crazy considering we're on the other side of the world.
So am I right in saying that I've seen, I'm not 100% sure on this, by the way, but I've seen your main like social accounts for Garagestyle. You have branched off, right, and started creating them for the different locations. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, so we have got a few pages set up, mainly just because we've been active in some of those countries doing little bits and pieces. So we've sort of started the pages up. None of them are sort of posted on regularly at the moment, but they're sort of ready to go.
When you say active, though, this is what baffles me, because I don't think you quite grasp that, like, not most people would just put their product on a plane and fly to Dubai to fit a garage for demand. That is extra effort. That's work. That's different. That's crazy. That's like just going with the flow. And you seem to just kind of go in the flow. So like a few weeks ago, you were in Dubai, right?
That was another crazy one. DMO's obviously been a big supporter of the brand and a big customer of ours. We've probably done 10 different garages for him and some of his businesses over the last 7 years. So when he moved to Dubai, he just bought the tiles off us. We shipped him out there. And that was probably 6 months ago now. And then probably a month ago now, he just FaceTimed me and he was like, bro, I need you to come and fit these tiles. He's like, he was trying to get contractors to do it out there. And he was like, they're all being long. Can you just come and do it? And I remember looking at the diary thinking, like, we can't free add him up. Even like Alfie, who does a lot of our content, was like, I can't free him up. I was like, all right, fuck it, just book me a ticket and I'll just come out myself and do it. And he literally booked me a ticket for the next week, business class flight, flew me out there, fitted the floor and flew back within 24 hours. So that was pretty crazy. And no utilities.
You didn't book your own plane ticket, get your own plane ticket. DMO booked you a plane ticket and flew you to come and fit his floor in Dubai.
Yeah, I stayed there for one night in his house. And yeah, it was mad. We had obviously I didn't fly all the tools out there because we didn't have the time. So I just took some hand tools and used.
So you'd sent it, air freight?
Yeah,
beforehand.
We air freighted it out there probably 6 months ago now when he first went out there. But yeah, he was just like, he was trying to get a contractor out there to fit it. And I think he just got fed up and he was like, can you just come and do it? And yeah, that was pretty crazy, especially doing it in that time frame, in that heat as well, in the Dubai summer was mental.
And then off the back of that, what happens with the business and the brand?
So Dubai has always been one that we want to do. We've made the logo years ago. So the logo has been there parts. We've been speaking with different people out there. People obviously come and go. Some people that aren't suitable and some serious people we've been speaking to about partnering up with. So it's always been on the back burner, but just from doing DMOs, the amount of inquiries that came through have really given us a kick up the arse to get that started. So we are behind the scenes now working with a potential partner out there. So hopefully that'll be coming soon.
Do you think you would only work with somebody that's actually fitted flooring before, rather than someone that comes to you with the right attitude, for say?
No, to be fair, I think attitude, like I say, is probably the main thing. Obviously the socials help. So someone with a background or someone who knows how to navigate that world of socials. But yeah, the floor fitting itself can be taught fairly easily. It's nothing too intricate. So yeah, mostly comes down to the attitude and finding the right person who fits our branding, because obviously they're going to be representing us and using our logo and everything else. So we're always massive on dealing with customers. All our reviews are 5 stars. So just finding someone who's not going to tarnish that name in another country.
And you're telling me this has all been plain sailing. You haven't had moments with your head in your hand since 2017 stressing about stuff.
There's been plenty of stressful days.
So what is a stressful day?
To be fair, it's just little issues, never anything massive. We're always ones to put the customer first. So most of the issues would never get to the customer. Like I say, the one that stands out recently was we went and fitted a whole floor downstairs in a garage and upstairs in like a loft above the garage. Customer comes home from work and says, it looks great, but you've done the wrong colour. And it was actually, to be fair to the boys in the office, they asked, I can't remember which way around it was, but say they asked all for light grey. They then changed their mind and said, oh, do you know what? I'll have dark grey. Didn't book in for ages. And then when they finally came back and said, look, I'm ready to book in, we sent them a deposit invoice. They paid the deposit and the boys just looked through the emails and saw the email that said, yeah, I want it all light grey. Didn't read through every email to see him change his mind. So it was an easy mistake to make, but we did have to go back, rip it all out and redo it in the right colour. So there's little things like that. But like I say, we always put the customer first. And if there is something like that, it's obviously all on us. We'll get back, we'll get it sorted.
But what about you? At what point, like there's 11 staff out there. People are difficult to deal with, no matter how much you get on with them, whether they're brothers, girlfriends, wives, family members. People, when you run in a business, are difficult to deal with. So my point is, do you not have any moments? Some people are just calm. I have sat here with people that are just like, no, bro, I genuinely haven't. Like a great example is actually Matt. So I literally sit here with Matt and you go, so do you ever get stressed in the unit, like trying to hit?
Yeah.
It's like he's just got that kind of, no, not really. And is that genuinely the same view? Because my point is, there might be someone out there envisages running a business and you can spend an hour on Instagram or TikTok and see 100 things about, forget having a life anymore. Yeah. You're not going to have a wife and kids. You're just going to be working. You'll be going to grind. You're down in the trenches. Is that what your experience of running a business like this has been, or have you had a more calm approach on it?
To be fair, I'm always quite calm, so I don't let stress probably don't let it show, but there's always stressful moments and stuff going on behind the scenes. But yeah, there's always little things, like you say, staff, there's always little things going on. We've had an email today about one of our vans driving stupidly down the motorway. So we've always got the sort of issues that I'm sure most other people with 11 employees have got. But yeah, I think we're always on just sort of managing that out and just focusing on growth is the main thing. And yeah, the little problems can normally be dealt with quite easily. So I think we're lucky in that position that there's not anything that can go too badly wrong. We have had times where we've damaged the odd thing. I remember a mirror got smashed before for a customer, but like I say, we're always, even if it means that we have to pay for something that costs more than we've made off the floor, we're always just customer first. If it's our fault, hands up, pay for what's broken. And I think at the time there, it was the customer's fault anyway, because they were meant to have the skirting removed beforehand. Then we turned up, the skirting wasn't removed, and she asked the fitters to do it, and that's what broke the mirror. And I think that's probably why the skirting hadn't been removed off that section of the wall. So,
who does what in the business? We see different faces on social media. We see who could be in the garage potentially knocking off a mirror every now and then, but ending up creating the absolute dream space. We see a lot of Adam. So what is Adam to you?
Yeah, so Adam is our installation manager / right-hand man, I would say. So we're trying to get him on less and less installs, but he's constantly out on the tools. So today he's been out to do a garage door and finish off some flooring for a customer. He'd probably be back here any minute loading a load of boxes in from one of our other locations. So he gets involved obviously with a lot of the shows, and a lot of the content comes through Adam when he's outfitting. So yeah, he would be installation manager and he would then oversee the team of fitters. And then obviously we've also got guys in the office. So we've got Fielding, who takes the phone calls, deals with a lot of the inquiries. Alfie, who you met briefly, who does our social media stuff. But a lot of the social stuff I do myself as well. So I think where I've always done that from the start, it's hard to let go of that completely. So we've got the extra page, which is probably one of the pages you saw as well, which Alfie runs completely, as well as like the TikTok and YouTube. But the main Garagestyle Instagram page, I still do most of that myself, most of the posting.
And I think it's just time to even just pause and give credit on that. Because again, a lot of businesses can't grow nearly 500,000 followers on TikTok and same on Instagram and all the rest of it. Do you think that's purely just down to the fact that you're transforming a space, taking it from looking rubbish to not so good? Or do you guys really understand what you're doing when it comes to socials?
Yeah, I think we've learned a lot along the way. I think to start with, if you went, because I think all the posts are probably still on there. If you scrolled back far enough, it would take you a long time. I think there's like 4,000 posts on there. But we definitely didn't know what we were doing to start with, but it was just a case of posting, see what's working, tweak it, keep going. And obviously when videos came out, I remember trying the videos and they weren't really working out. So we went back to doing posts, and then a few of our customers were like, no, you need to get on the videos. So constantly tweaking it. And I think we've nailed it now with what works on our page. We do have some other pages as well, which isn't so easy to grow, but I think where we're doing visual stuff and you're around a lot of influencers, a lot of celebrities and all the colourful stuff, the supercars, stuff like that, it all helps.
So what is your average customer? Who is your average customer that shops with the brand?
So it is split really. Before we started doing people like Mrs. Hinch and Stacey Solomon and those sort of people, it was always just sort of like...
Never done Katie Price, Ping?
No, we spoke to her before actually. She did want something done at one point, but had never actually done anything. But yeah, before that, it was always sort of your supercar owners. So we were always around that sort of circuit in those shows. Since we started doing influencers like that, we now do a lot of just sort of women who want to smarten the garage up, utility rooms, stuff like that. And then home gyms is a big one as well. So especially through lockdown, I think we were doing like 80 gyms a month through lockdown. So it was crazy. But yeah, so we do a whole range of audience really, from your sort of showroom garages to your home gyms.
Is that something that you picked up on? You thought we got to stop just going after the supercar owners and actually look at home gyms and look at this and look at doing the whole customization? Like, is that all come from you, that level?
So certain parts, so like going into like the influencers like Mrs. Hinch and stuff definitely was a good move. But the gym sort of came naturally. I think we didn't even have like a dedicated gym tile at that point. People were just using the garage tiles for gym, whereas now we've got a whole range of gym flooring as well. But yeah, I think like you say, it was a good move to get out of just that one audience. And that has definitely kept us busy with recommendations and to be fair, yeah, constantly reinvest. So until recently, I was paying myself like the minimum amount, and I have increased that now. But we're always just reinvesting. There's always more stock to buy, more vans to buy, and we're always just focusing on growth. So I think that point will come in the future. But as it is now, it's just constantly right. What can we reinvest in and build the company to the next level? Because I think there's still a long way to go. Like you say, we're branching into a lot of the bigger stuff now as well. We've done some bits in Formula One this year, which was cool.
What was that?
So we've supplied some were in an NDA, so we can't actually mention those names. But we've done a bit with Ferrari Formula One this year, which was cool. And that again was just like a random order, and it came through, and we were like going to deliver it, and we're like, hang on a minute, who's this for? We did some stuff at Silverstone with a brand that we can't talk about, but yeah, so we've sort of stepped into that market, which is exciting. And yeah, I think we're just constantly looking at what markets we can grow into and how we can take it to the next level.
Is this your all-encompassing baby? Like, do you live your life around the brand? And where do you see it in 5 years? And what do you want it to look like in 5 years?
Yes, I'd say it is. I do live my life around it, much to the missus's disappointment sometimes, because it's, as you know, it's just constant social media. It's like all hours of the day. I do have to try and make a conscious effort to put my phone down and stop, because it just never stops. But yeah, I think I've always just been consistent with posts multiple times a day, just always on it and always thinking, right, we've got to keep growing. It's never a case of just, I've got friends with businesses who are just like, they get it to a certain level and they're just happy and they're sort of pretty chilled. I'm always like, right, what's next? Double the turnover.
Where does that come from? What's that thing that's made you like that?
I don't know. I think there's a couple of things. I think one is like, I've always had big ambitions. So I've always pictured like the big house, the nice cars, and it's like, taking those steps together.
Are you driven by the financials of getting to that?
I think the financials
place,
as well as just like building a brand rather than just a company. So I've got a little boy as well, so it's always like just build something that's going to last. And I think also it's always a case, when we started there was like nobody doing what we're doing, especially on socials, whereas now you obviously get people all the time popping up. So it's always just a case as well as like just keep on it, just never take the foot off the pedal. And I think that is something that stresses us out, because it's just non-stop. It's like we never sit back and just think, right, that was a good year. It's just like, right, what are we going to do next year? And it's just keep going.
And what businesses are your favourites that like inspire you to do better with the brand? It could be in like other industries. I've always looked up to the likes of Gymshark, etc.
Yeah.
I think the creativity, the way Ben's done a lot of the stuff there was always like a favourite brand of mine. What about you? What sort of things that...
I mean, I've always, obviously from the start, because we did a lot of work with Yanamize, I've always been watching their videos, and sort of that's what led us down the YouTube route of trying to make those sort of, that sort of content, especially around the celebrities and stuff like that. So I think brands like that and Urban have done well with branding and socials. Also Gymshark, big fan of that. I think the Porsche that you saw sat outside actually was one of the owners of Gymshark before we bought it. Which was pretty cool. But yeah, I think any brand that's just out there on socials and using that, I think it takes a lot of work. So I know what goes into it.
Well, one thing that you mentioned when I first got here, because I'm at one of your many premises, is space. And actually the fact that what's kind of happened is as the business has grown over the last period of time, the issue is you're not all under one roof of one place.
And that's
just explain how many places that you operate from?
Yeah, that's probably the biggest stress actually coming down to it at the moment. It's just the space. So we've currently got 2 units and multiple storage locations. There's probably 6 different locations that we have to get in between and pick tiles up from.
Is that just because you keep running out of room?
Yeah, do you know what it was? When we moved here, which was 3 years ago now, we saw this unit and it was like 10 times bigger than our last one, and we were just like, this is massive, what are we going to do? And I remember driving, like, I think Adam's got like crazy carts and stuff in there. He was like driving around the unit and we were like, got so much space, and then within a year it's like you can't move in there. So I think it's just trying to store everything that we need to store. We've got a lot of distributors and people we supply, or we do a lot of big jobs. So someone could turn around and have like, we've done jobs that are like 2,000 square meters of a certain color. So if you don't have the tiles there ready to go, it's hard. So it's always like we have to have everything in big stock. And I think that it's hard to plan for the future and not end up with a unit that's just going to cost us hundreds of thousands of pounds a year when we don't need it yet. So it is just a conscious juggling act.
But when you add up all the little individual bits, sometimes you try not to think of that good amount.
Yeah, it's true. And we do need a bigger unit now. So we are actively looking, just because driving between different units is a bit of a pain.
No doubt I know what's going to be on the floor in there.
Yeah, that's it.
So do you guys actually yet find time to get your own garages done?
So well, mine is done. Adam's is done. Funny story with Adam's, actually, we did it as an April Fool's prank. I don't know if you saw that video, but we got a lot of people going with that. So we wanted a garage to film and pretend we did the wrong floor. So what we ended up doing is we used Adam's garage and we had his mum in the video, and it was like a whole block of garages. So we called the customer and they said, the garage is open, I'm not here. So we just went and there was one garage that was open. So we just lifted the door up, laid a mad floor with like pink and all multicolours on it, and then filmed like the customer coming back to do a reveal. When we opened the garage and they're like, that's not my garage, it's the one next door. And I opened it, and then we filmed the angry guy whose garage we'd ripped all of his carpet out of, broke some of his stuff, throwing it in the back of the van. And then we filmed him come back and kicking off. And it was one of our most viewed videos, and it got everyone going. The amount of people that text me like, you bastard, I've just watched that whole video thinking it was real. We put it out on April Fool's Day. So Adam's got like the maddest colour scheme in his garage because we just never bothered taking it out afterwards. I think he's got like pink, blue, green, black all mixed together in his garage. Mine's done and has been since lockdown. I would like to change it up now with different colours. But yeah, it is hard to take that time off to actually, it's like most tradesmen, their house is the last one to be done.
That's the saying. But going back on to the people that you've been supplying, we've mentioned people that you've done in the past. So you've done Jake Paul, we mentioned DMO, done in the past and more frequently, Mrs. Hinch, all these people. You told me a name just before we started recording. I think you might have mentioned it at a show a little while ago that you haven't actually put out on social media. Have you done a garage yet or doing for Justin Bieber?
So it's a little exclusive for the pod because it hasn't been mentioned on socials yet. But yeah, we've sent the tiles out to Canada, now been received. His team are actually installing it just because of security wise. It's like I've been speaking with his dad and he's like, you just can't get onto the property. And even if we can, there's certain things that can't be filmed. So they're actually got a team fitting it on site, and then all the content will be coming back over to us. But that was another pinch me moment where we just got some random messages coming through, and before you know it, we were on Zoom calls with Justin and some of his team. So pretty crazy, and it's going to be a mad colour scheme, all yellow and black. We've printed his Drew clothing brand onto some of the tiles. So yeah, that's going to be...
Is he still into his cars? Because if you think Justin Bieber and you think cars, you remember a video of I think it was a Ferrari 458 video. That was it. It was something like that from the States. So I know he used to be into his cars, but do you know what's going to be parked in that garage?
So I don't know what's going to go onto that garage in particular, but I know he's got like a whole museum full of cars. So that's just one section of a massive garage. So we'll probably be adding onto it in the future. But yeah, it should be pretty crazy. So there should be a lot of content to come when that drops.
And if there's one person in the world that you hope that you could do their garage and do something crazy with it, who would you love to do that you've not?
Do you know what? This is actually a pinch me moment as well, to be fair, because we did another story, but we did a Channel 5 documentary called £1 Million Garage Conversions. So we filmed on that, and they actually sat me down at the end when they interviewed me, and they say, if there's one person out there who you'd like to work with, and I literally went, Justin Bieber. And probably 4 years later from that, we've actually done it. And that was with him coming to us rather than us approaching him. But thinking now, I'd probably just say, because of the stuff that's going to be happening in the US, I'd probably say someone like Drake, Kim Kardashian, just someone who's like a proper household name like Justin Bieber, but in a different industry. And I think it's possible with the right connections.
Do Trump Tower by the sounds of things.
Yeah.
You'll be doing the
That'd be a
forward
good
of there. So it seems like you've got mad aspirations for the business, but what you've already achieved with it is fairly insane. You're actually this weekend been kind enough to supply me some flooring to go underneath the van that's going to be at Gravity. I don't think this episode would have dropped before it. However, many of you might have actually come over and seen us there. And you're going to be at Gravity as well, like you are at literally every single show
everywhere
across the UK.
Yeah, we're going to be there. We've got a big stand ourselves, and then we're supplying floors, obviously, for yourself.
And the lighting. So you now do all the hexagon lighting as well, don't you? Because people just ask for one thing and then the other thing. And is that a complicated product, a complicated install?
Not really. I mean, we don't get involved with the actual installation side of that, just because it needs to be done by an electrician. So we do have an electrician that we recommend, but obviously where we cover the whole country, the electricians don't. So that's normally a case of just shipping the boxes out the door, which makes it a bit easier for us. Not always included in the content, which I suppose is the downside of that, because the lights aren't always up when we arrive. But we do try and get them out beforehand when we book the job in, just so they've got a bit of time to get those in place. But yeah, they're going really well. We do a lot of that, a lot of different systems, and we've got some new ones coming out soon as well, some different colours, which will be cool.
Well, many people try and forge a career in automotive, whether it be from detailing to PPF to wrapping to whatever it is that they've chosen. I think that what you chose, what I thought wasn't going to work when I first saw it, because I had these fancy 100 quid a square metre porcelain tiles, and I thought, well, that's never going to work. And now you're sat in the back of the van, 2 million quid and 11 staff in doing floors for Justin Bieber. So congratulations on the success of your business, and I hope you've inspired many coming on and talking about it today on Road to Success. So Harry, thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me on. Look forward to seeing your continued success.